Welcome back to Tampa Bay's Morning Blend, where people are still talking about unemployment, which leads to conversations about those independent contractors. I know I've been thinking a lot about them during this time and how they have been affected. And that's why we also wanted to call in our friend Catherine Stone to get her thoughts about how the landscape is changing maybe for independent contractors and what are some things that people need to know and maybe get Catherine on their team. First off, how are you? Good to see you
Good.
again.
How are you? Thanks for having me on again today. So it is something that we're starting to see with a lot of more conversation about independent contractors. So obviously, a lot of employers are trying to get back. They're trying to bring their employees back, but maybe they're trying to minimize expenses because of having not been able to earn the amount that they were previously doing. So what we're finding is that some of these employers are trying to not pay for things like workers' comp insurance by reclassifying their employees as an independent contractor. Or maybe an employee has gone out and found a job and they're being told they're going to be an independent contractor and paid like an independent contractor. Well, in the workers' comp world, number one, you're not covered under workers' compensation if you are truly an independent contractor. So that's one thing to think about in case you get hurt on the job. The other thing to think about is, are you truly an independent contractor? So for instance, there's a whole list and a whole category of a test. Basically, we determine whether or not someone is an independent contractor for purposes of workers' compensation, or whether they're truly an employee, and whether or not that employer should have had workers' comp coverage for those individuals. Specifically, if the employer has 4 or more employees, whether they're part-time or not, they're required under the state of Florida to have workers' comp coverage. And so I would just encourage everyone to be careful if you're taking on a new job and they're telling you you're going to be an independent contractor, but yet they have total control over your hours. They have total control over the products that you use. There's a whole list as to what qualifies as an independent contractor. And you would be surprised a lot of times how often that is not the case, that even though you may have gotten or being told that you're an independent contractor, you're in fact really classified as an employee for purposes of being entitled to workers' compensation.
So really, if you're an independent contractor and you do get injured and you just don't have to say, oh man, I got to chalk this up to bad luck, there's nothing I can do. You're saying to still contact you and see if there were benefits, because people could have been misled with that true definition of independent contractor, right?
Correct. Yes, I actually have several cases right now where we're arguing that the employer was required to have workers' compensation coverage because they had 4 or more employees. They were trying to classify all of these employees as independent contractors when in fact, we contend that they're not independent contractors, that they were technically employees given the type of work that they were doing. Now, that's not to say that employers can't hire independent contractors. That's not to say that, that can't happen. Of course it can happen, but there's certain specific parameters to truly make someone an independent contractor. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to designate you as an independent contractor. Depends on the type of work, who has control over the business model, who has control over the production level, who has control over the profit and losses. So like I said, there's actually a whole long list that I use every time I depose an employer, and I literally go down the list and verify whether or not who has the control.
Well, this situation, like so many situations you talked about, the best thing, give you a call.
Yeah.
You can help, you can direct people and see what situation they fall under, and she will be able to take care of you. You're in good hands. Catherine, again, thank you so much for joining us on this holiday. We always appreciate you. There's how you can get in touch with her. Injury Florida Law, there's the phone number and website.